You just ended up your first main roster on Raw since you came back to WWE. How do you summons up your first year at Monday Night Raw?
I think my first year is so far so good. It's crazy. It's only been 1 year. It's went by like the blink of an eye, and I've had a bunch of significant moments. Like teaming with Dolph Ziggler, we were tag team champions, and he won the Intercontinental title, which was basically both of us were Intercontinental champion because I was helping him so much. And then I had a big match with Kurt Angle where I beat him with his ankle lock, and obviously the biggest one of the year was wrestling Roman Reigns at WrestleMania and the singles match and his first match back from illness. So now my goal to cap it all off is win the Money in the Bank contract on Sunday.
In my mind, you and Roman Reigns are the next big stars in the next couple of years of WWE. And of course, you had your feud leading to WrestleMania. And can you tell me what are your thoughts when you can see Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre fighting for the WWE title at the main event of WrestleMania?
Yeah, 100%. I appreciate you saying that, but WrestleMania, we got to see a little bit of what we could do together. And last week on Raw, I think everybody saw a little bit more because we're two big physical guys, and we're not afraid to hit each other or take a hit. And I think last week's match was even better than our WrestleMania match. And like you say, I think in future we're just going to keep raising the bar and competing with each other because that's the kind of mentality we have. We have a friendly and sometimes unfriendly, competitive spirit in the locker room, which just makes everybody bring their A game and put 150% in every time. And we're two guys that are willing to bring it all every single time. And when if the title's going to be on the line in the future, we're going to take it to a whole new level.
You told us that you and Roman Reigns are great friends. Can you take us back to the day when you found out when Romans has leukemia, and of course when he recovered from leukemia? What are were your feelings? How did you react to this news?
Yeah, I mean, everybody was obviously shocked and upset. It's no longer Roman Reigns anymore. It's obviously Joe, the family man, the father and the husband. So it was shocking for everybody, and nobody cared about necessarily the wrestling part, just about his health, and that's all that mattered. And during his time away, we got updates, and they were always very positive, and he stayed positive the whole time, which was great to hear. And then inevitably, when he came back, he's just showed, like we talked about, that fighting spirit, that drive, and that warrior blood that he has going through his veins. That he came back, and he's the same guy, and I can assure you, being in the ring with him, like there's not one step missing, and he brings it all every time, and it's amazing what he went through that he's able to compete at the level he's competing at right now. And yeah, like I mean, especially last week, like we really went for it like crazy in that match, and it's amazing that he's back at that level.
You were talking on your first run at WWE, and you have a few years when you were outside the WWE, and then you came back to NXT. Can you share your feelings on the time when you were out of the WWE and what it meant to you when you came back to NXT and, of course, winning the NXT title?
My time outside the company, I think, was essential to become the performer I am today. I had a lot of growth to do as a person and as a wrestler and sports entertainer. And the time away from the company gave me perspective and the opportunity that I didn't maximize when I was with WWE, because I grew up in WWE and I was so in the bubble that I forgot what it was like outside. So actually to be outside and to take a step back and start trying to put the pieces together and figure out exactly who I was and learn how to become a main event performer and work on my performance and my look and just getting myself ready for the future and realizing my potential. And I really got an opportunity to help a lot of companies outside of WWE. But when I came to NXT, the time was right to come back to WWE. NXT was the right place to go because the fans know what's going on outside the company. They're very knowledgeable. They know who Drew McIntyre is these days when I returned. and to be champion there really meant a lot to me, as I had the chance to lead that brand, to lead that locker room, and unfortunately I lost the title because my bicep tore in a match. But now I'm back on Raw and things are going the way they're meant to go, and soon enough I'll be Universal Champion.
As a Scotsman, I'm sure you're glad that WWE are investing in the UK in the last couple of years. Can you tell me, as a guy who grew up in the UK and tried to fight his way to be a wrestler, can you tell us the difference between then and now? And what are your thoughts on the WWE investment in the UK as a promotion?
I think it's great that we have a performance center now in the UK. Because when I started, there was nothing at all. I used to have to travel 12 hours on a train when I was 15 just to learn to wrestle. So it was very inconvenient to travel back and forth to go to school and try and do wrestling training as often as often as I could afford, or as often as my mom or nana would give me money, and as often as I was off school. It was not easy, and I couldn't imagine that there'd be a bunch of wrestling schools in the UK now that are reputable, but not only that, WWE would actually have a base in the UK with a performance centre where I could aspire to make it to, which now the UK talent can aspire to make it to the UK Performance Centre and inevitably get the opportunity on NXT UK, and then if they do well in NXT UK, they could go to NXT or to Raw or to SmackDown. The possibilities are endless, and I think it's awesome that it's all happening here in the UK.
So you said, we talked about the NXT UK. Can you put a spotlight on a couple of wrestlers from the NXT UK you think are going to be the next big stars that could be on the WWE main roster in the next couple of years?
I don't like to single people out. Makes me feel bad.
You can choose two, that's okay.
All right, I think I've said this one already, because obviously the Pete Dunnes and Tyler Bates and the Mustache Mountains get the platform already in NXT, and I think Pete's been on Raw a couple of times, so I'll give a shout out to Gallus, my fellow Scotsman. They've got a group there with Wolfgang and Mark and Joe Coffey, guys I've known for years and travelled up and down the roads with. I've known Wolfgang since I took his first wrestling lesson about 16 years ago. Oh, wow. So hopefully they get the opportunity to do it on a even bigger stage than they are already, but they're representing the brand very well right now.
And of course, WWE have a lot of talents these days. Which one of the Raw wrestlers you would like to face in the near future?
I mean, there's a few, but the number one guy who I keep missing over the years, like we passed like ships in the night. In Impact Wrestling, we passed like ships in the night, and the independent scene and promoters kept trying to organise the match, but for one reason or another, I couldn't make it or he couldn't make it. And then when I came back to Raw, he was on SmackDown. Now we're both finally on Raw, and that would be AJ Styles. So I know we can have great matches, and I know we can do some cool things together, and it's been years coming, so I'm looking forward to that.
So Drew, the last time WWE were in Israel, it was 1994, and Bret Hart was the champion. So can you tell me, do you think we can see WWE in the near future coming to Israel again to perform in front of the great crowd of Israel?
WWE's global footprint is incredible. We basically go to any country where the fans want us there. And like been talking to yourself, and from what I hear, there is a demand for WWE in Israel, and any country that wants us there. If the fans want us there, chances are we're going to show up eventually.